Good morning, world. Good morning to our speakers in New York, in the UK, and Israel. Special thanks for those of you who had to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 a.m. Appreciate it. A big thank you to our hosts here, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, to our partners, the U.S. Embassy in Israel, our in-kind sponsors, Per Cohen Law Firm, and our many volunteers and supporters. Global Entrepreneurship Week is officially opening here in Israel at this very moment. The rest of the world obviously begins tomorrow. Global Entrepreneurship Week is taking place in 170 countries with 10 million participants annually. We are proud to be part of this global movement supporting entrepreneurship. It is with great pleasure that I invite Mr. Jonathan Schreier, Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Israel, for words of welcome. Jonathan Schreier will join us on Zoom.
I'm joined today by my embassy colleagues, Ellen Schnitzer and Allison Brown, who've been working throughout the year to promote STEAM education, entrepreneurship, and women's empowerment programs in Israel. I would like to congratulate the organizers from Israel's Global Entrepreneurship Network, Chairwoman Ela Matalon, good to see you again, fellow board members, and their very dedicated team, which has risen to the challenge of putting together a full week of enriching virtual events. There's no fitting place than here in Israel to start up Global Entrepreneurship Week each year, for Israel is the startup nation. I would like to thank the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange for supporting this effort for the past 5 years and continuing despite the limitations imposed by COVID-19. We do not take this for granted. U.S. Embassy Jerusalem is pleased to support this excellent initiative, just as the U.S. government is committed to promoting entrepreneurship internationally as a means to stimulate local economic growth, expand economic and social inclusion, open new markets for U.S. companies, and increase global prosperity. It is wonderful to see so many distinguished female entrepreneurs and innovators from Israel, the United States, and Europe coming together to exchange knowledge and share experiences throughout the week. The full participation of women in Israel's business ecosystems is something the U.S. Embassy strives to promote. All Israelis from across this diverse society deserve to be part of the country's economic success story. That is why we're proud to support initiatives that help increase opportunity and enthusiasm among Israel's various populations. The embassy supports a broad range of projects through public diplomacy grants, speaker programs and exchanges, and the Middle East Partnership Initiative, known as MEPI, all of which boost economic empowerment in Israel through entrepreneurship, innovation, and employment. We put special focus on entrepreneurship among women in general, and especially women in high-tech fields. This year, through the Department of State's Economic Bureau, we have supported Femtech Foundry, a training course for 10 female entrepreneurs leading companies in Israel. We also support excellent projects like Go North by Woman to Woman, which brings together Jewish and Arab women in tech in the north of the country and provides entrepreneurship, mentorship, and training. In 2020, we continued our efforts to promote equal representation of diverse communities in Israel's economy through grants supporting Present Tense's entrepreneur hubs in Jerusalem, Jaffa, and Haifa, and the Hybrid Accelerator, promoting Arab-led startups in Israel, operated by the Ministry of Economy's Agency for Small and Medium Businesses. I will close by giving my warmest welcome to the students who are joining Global Entrepreneurship Week programs for the first time this year, and they come from technological colleges managed by MAHAT, the National Institute of Technology and Science. It is exciting to know that our audience is broadening each year. Here's to the beginning of another excellent, fruitful Global Entrepreneurship Week in Israel. B'hatzlacha.
Thank you so much. Jonathan just mentioned the creating bridges between the entrepreneurship communities, the Jewish and Arab communities, and bridging over the divide, one of the many divides that we find in Israel. And indeed, last night we had our own celebration of celebrating Global Entrepreneurship Week at the house of Reem and Imad Yunus in Upper Nazareth. This wonderful couple is a great role model for the Arabs community in Israel. They were the first technology entrepreneurs. They started Alpha Omega back in 1993 with the idea and with the purpose of showing people around them, showing other Arabs in high technology that entrepreneurship is doable. And indeed, this company is incredible. So last night we had a congregation in the garden of 20 entrepreneurs in high technology from both the Arab and the Jewish communities in Israel. And I hope we will have many, many more of those. In April of 2019, I led the Israeli delegation to Manama, Bahrain, for the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. Given the recent peace treaty, we were delighted to have a speaker from Bahrain on today's program. However, sadly, Bahrain's Prince Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa, the world's longest-serving prime minister, whose time in office spanned the Persian Gulf Kingdom independence in 1971 to its normalization of ties with Israel this year, died Wednesday, and Bahrain declared a week of mourning. Our condolences to the people of Bahrain. COVID is taking its toll, a huge number of lives, dictating social distances. We no longer meet friends like we used to. We wear masks that cover a large part of our faces. We keep at a distance from each other. Many of us refrain from going out altogether. We connect over the physical divide on virtual meetings. Technology is helping us bridge over this divide. The same technology today is helping us bring together speakers from the United States, from Europe and Israel to audiences all over the world. Global Entrepreneurship Week Israel has been part of GEW since its inception back in 2008. We put an emphasis on the social periphery and have initiated activities such as Entrepreneurship on Tap, which took place in Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Jerusalem, but also in Dimona, Ashkelon, Nazareth, and several kibbutzim, as a result of individual initiatives. Our Roots project brings entrepreneurs back to their home schools to serve as role models. This year, we partnered with MAHAT, as Jonathan mentioned, the Government Technological Training Institute, with a series of lectures, Entrepreneurship at 6 p.m., that will host entrepreneurs from the periphery as well as MAHAT alumni. We are proud to have IDF hold their innovation competition finals tomorrow during GW. We're proud to have Shivyon Hackathon as part of Shivyon's activity to promote economic, political, educational, and social equality, as well as equal opportunities in business and equal pay. GW, in partnership with MIT Enterprise Forum, recently held the first cohort of She Entrepreneurs, an acceleration program for women entrepreneurs, which won strong compliments from program participants and was actually run by Gwen Edwards, who will join us shortly on this stage. We have been working on promoting female entrepreneurship for many years. And for GW 2020, we decided to make 100% of our speakers on Entrepreneurship on Tap and Cafe Entrepreneurship meetings host brilliant women entrepreneurs. These include repeat entrepreneurs Yael Karov, who was part of 4 successful exits, Ginger, Rosetta Genomics, Agentis, and Click Software, now Director of Engineering, Machine Intelligence and Research at Google. Yael Glassman, who joined Neutrino to turn it around and ended up having it acquired by Medtronic for $100 million. Iris Schur, a repeat entrepreneur now on her 3rd company, Oribi, and many other star entrepreneurs. We start tonight with Einav Adiv Barar, who did something very unusual in Israel. She started a consumer goods company, which was later acquired by Neopharm for 100 million shekels. Einav will discuss identifying the time to sell. Tomorrow morning, we'll have Ina Braverman describe how she managed to create deals all over the world and have an IPO on the Swedish Stock Exchange. Revital Wittelsson Jacobs will share her experience as a small business herself. The fact that we have women on stage should not discourage men in the audience. The messages are entrepreneurial challenges, and they are equally relevant to both male and female entrepreneurs. We have elected to have some women on stage, given women are discriminated against in payment, in promotion, and in getting funded. This is clearly what the stats show us. It's hard to believe, but women receive less than 3% of the total venture capital invested in the United States. We want both men and women to get to know more successful female entrepreneurs in order to lower barriers for women striving to succeed and create more role models. And we know this is happening. Today we will meet entrepreneurs in agtech and life science, striving to make ours a better world. Our first speaker is Polly van Alstein of Scott Bio, a young startup in the agtech field. Events that have the ability to impact the success or failure of a business can occur at any time, and COVID has put a lens on the unexpected for many companies. The nature of unexpected events is that you can't know when they are going to occur, but a part of your strategic planning, there are steps you can take to help mitigate against unanticipated events. Polly van Alstein, a founder and Chief Operating Officer at Scott Bio, will discuss steps that have been successfully employed in her business to help overcome unanticipated obstacles during fundraising. A word about Polly. Polly van Alstein is a founder and COO of Scott Bio, a Scottish biotech company producing high-value ingredients from spirulina. She has over 20 years of senior-level operational experience, with specialization in strategic planning, scale-up, and globalization. Prior to Scott Bio, Polly was a director and head of operations in a London-based software development company. She has a BSc in international politics from Georgetown University and an MBA from the University of Strathclyde. Polly will speak about preparing for the unexpected. Polly, if you could change one thing related to women and entrepreneurship, what would it be? The floor is yours.
Hello, hi, am I off mute? Yes. I think if I could change one thing, it would probably be one that's already been highlighted, which is the attitude of the financial markets towards women founders and women entrepreneurs. I think the women have proven that they can be very successful in running businesses, and unfortunately, that's not reflected in the in the amount of funds that are dedicated to female-run businesses. Shall I? Yep.
You can continue from here.
Shall I just go ahead then with my? I've got some slides prepared, so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully that's going to work. Okay. Okay, let me know when I can go. Can you see it? I'm sharing it. Yep. Can you see it? Okay, let me just. Um, hmm. Nope, it's not working. It says it's failing to share. Let me try. Let me try something different. Let me try one more time. Okay. So I think. Let me just see if I can make that go onto big screen. Is it still sharing? Yes. Great. Okay. Great. Thank you. First off, thank you very much to the Global Entrepreneurship Network for including me in this event. As already has been noted, I'm Polly Van Alstyne. I'm a founder and the Chief Operating Officer at ScotBio. It's a biotech company based in Scotland. And I'm here today. I want to talk to you a bit about some of my experiences recently in terms of raising funds for a company, which is something that I think every entrepreneur probably has been through. And it's difficult under normal circumstances, but certainly when something unexpected like COVID happens, it can be very, very difficult. And I think, every company has had a dose of the unexpected over the past few months. Very challenging for big companies, but in particular for young startups and early stage businesses. So what I'd like to do is share some of my experiences and some of the steps we've taken that have helped us deal with these unexpected events in the hopes that they can be useful for other people as well. First, I'd like to just give you a bit of background about my company. At ScotBio, we grow spirulina algae to produce clean label natural ingredients. Unlike other spirulina producers, we grow our spirulina indoors using a patented lighting system that increases the growth rate. The company has raised £4 million to date, and we've used those funds to prove the technology, complete a successful commercial pilot, and sign up our initial clients. We have been in the process of raising funds to scale our first commercial factory. And that is the thing I want to talk to you about today, because we've actually been doing that for a remarkable 16 months. And that was very unexpected to us. We didn't think it was going to take 16 months to actually close this funding round and get moving on that strategic plan. I'll very briefly just talk through the timeline. So in September of 2019, we went out to the market to raise $6.5 million to build that factory. We negotiated with some companies and eventually had an offer from an impact investment fund. That was in December of 2019. We started due diligence with them in January and had a closing date set for March of 2020. And of course, as we all know, in March of 2020, COVID struck the world, and unfortunately, that fund stopped making new investments and had to divert their funds to their existing portfolio companies. The financial markets effectively froze up during the next few months, and so we took advantage of that time to actually go back and review the activities of the company, look at the advances, review the financial plans, review the strategic plans. And when we decided in July of 2020 that the markets looked like they were opening up again, we went back out to the market with actually a much stronger proposition, reflecting some of the huge advancements that had happened in the company, including a fourfold increase in productivity. We spent the next many months talking sometimes to 20 or 30 people in a single week. And going out to the market, but things have still been very difficult over the past few months in the financial markets, and we are now finally, nearly 16 months later, at a point where we are raising funds. But the important thing here is that we're raising funds not for $6.5 million or $8.5 million, but between $3.5 million and $5 million, which is our plan B. So what I want to talk through is a few things that we've done that have helped us to get through this entire situation. Probably the first and most important thing is I'll call it contingency, but it's basically to have a plan B. I'm not talking about contingency in terms of timing or anything like that. It's really literally having a plan B and in many cases a plan C. These are scenarios that you've prepared that you can fall back on. You don't want to wait until you're in the midst of a crisis. Sorry, my thing keeps jumping. You don't want to wait till you're in the midst of a crisis to start planning for it. And if there's anything I can say, this is probably the number one most important piece of advice I would have for anybody. In the context of our experience, so we went to the market to raise £8.5 million, but not knowing whether that was going to be possible, given this unexpected, crazy situation that the world has been in, we prepared two contingency scenarios that looked at what could we do in order to achieve a £1 million revenue run rate, and what would we need to do to hit an EBITDA break-even point. And those became our plans B and plans C. And that actually is absolutely crucial, because when it became apparent that we were not going to hit that target, we had these other plans all ready to roll out and move forward with. We didn't have to then think, oh, well, now what do we do? So yeah, as I said, if anything, this is the number one piece of advice that I could give to anybody. Secondly, I'd say, you want to be flexible. Constantly review the plans, go back and review. Don't just make a plan and put it away on a shelf somewhere that never to be looked at again. You need to review them regularly, and you need to be prepared to move quickly when something changes and pull out those contingency plans. A fairly obvious one is on cash. The chairman of our board is very fond of saying that the only reason that companies ever fail is because they run out of money. There's various reasons why that may happen, but of course, being able to keep an eye on the cash and review it, the longer you go on, the more you need to check it, every month, every week, even in some cases, and be prepared to make cutbacks where needed. And then the last two, I think I can cover actually, in one point, which is the team and the networks. They're very similar. We've been very lucky at our company that we have an incredibly strong board of directors who rolls up their sleeves, and we have a very supportive shareholder base, and we've been able to go out and rely on them very heavily throughout this period. Being an entrepreneur is a lonely activity a lot of times. So having that team who's there, who's ready to step in and support you, is incredibly helpful and useful. And in terms of networks as well, just talking with other companies that have been through something similar, talking to government agencies can also be a very helpful thing to do. So, the net effect of all of this for us is that actually we have, emerged stronger, we think. And as we've gone back out with our plans B and C, we're finding that our shareholder base is actually, they actually prefer those scenarios. It's better for them in the end. They get less dilution, and we actually reduce the overall amount of cash we need to raise in the long term. So having those plans has been incredibly helpful to us as a business. Just want to close with one final thought, which is a quote that's when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening, which is, exactly the way to get through a crisis is you can't control the crisis, but you certainly can be prepared, and you can take the steps that you need to take in order to be to get yourself through it. And as we like to say in the UK, keep calm and carry on. And that is me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Polly. Isn't it interesting how similar entrepreneurs are all over the world, coping with the same problems? The great equalizer. We're going to have 4 entrepreneurs today on stage, and we're going from earlier stage to later stage. And we're here at the Stock Exchange. We have Shanito Ledano, founder and CEO of HT Bioimaging, her first startup. Shani has a degree in mechanical engineering with emphasis on thermodynamics and a Master of Science in AI and artificial intelligence. Shani has 11 years of experience in development, engineering, and management. Shani would speak about flexibility and perseverance. Thank you so much, Shani, for coming here. Floor is yours.
Should I start? I don't think they can hear me. Okay, good. All right. So, hi everyone. Ella, thank you for having me. So my name is Shanito Ledano. I'm the co-founder and CEO of HD Bioimaging. Let's talk a bit about my background very quick. So I have a management and technological background. Before HD Bioimaging, I spent 11 years at the aerospace industries. I was an officer at the Israeli Air Force. I used to manage a UAV pilot training school. Then I worked for IAI, the Israeli Aerospace Industries, for a few years. I have science degree in mechanical engineering. I specialized in heat transfer and thermodynamics. And I have master degree in artificial intelligence and software. I founded HD Bioimaging together with my partner Gideon Barak, a successful serial entrepreneur. And I founded the company after my father passed away from cancer that was detected very late. The vision of my venture and HD Bioimaging is really to save people's lives. And this is the reason I'm waking up in the morning. We've developed a new imaging modality that is based on heat diffusion. Heat diffusion is a process of heat flow inside materials. So what we do is we are sending a heat wave to the tissue. Cancer and normal tissue transfer the heat differently, and we know how to read that signal and translate it into an image on the spot. And then the treatment can begin. Our technology starts with a medical device, a handheld device, a probe, and we take the signal from the probe to the cloud, and we do the analysis on the cloud. The analysis and algorithm are based on signal analysis, computer vision, artificial intelligence, in order to classify cancer and non-cancer lesions. The technology is definitely safe, no any radiation exposure, providing an immediate results on the spot and affordable, low cost. The technology could be used to detect many kinds of cancer, starting with the primary care cancers, for example, cervical cancer for the gynecologists, skin cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, head and neck cancer, and oral cancer. So those are the point of care, primary care cancers that we can help with. And another area is the intraoperative tool to help the surgeon to detect cancer margins during the operation and to help them to navigate right during that procedure in order to cut cancer right. We also have an indication for the vet business, for the veterinary market, where the veterinarian can detect cancer on the spot and really understand whether this suspicious mass that he sees on top of the dog or cat surface is cancer or non-cancer lesion. So currently we are focusing on three main channels. One is the point of care, primary care, which we are running clinical trials in Israel and the United States. We have about 120 patients that have been tested with our technology. The results are amazing and we're about to publish them soon. Then we have the other channel, which is the surgery tool, which we're running clinical trials as well in Israel, in Sheba. And the third area is the vet. So in order to be a in human oncology reliable tool, we need to go through the FDA approval, which we are currently running in this process. But we still have about 2 years to reach that goal and to get the FDA approval. And during that time, we take our technology, our tool, the same in-human tool, to the veterinary area in order to help them with dogs and cats, which does not require any FDA approval at this point and allow us to become a profitable company to generate revenues in the near future. So this is the current step that we do. We have a go-to-market product which about to launch early next year, currently under pilot studies in the United States and Israel. So being a healthcare company, that's challenging, right? And being a healthcare young company in Israel, that's tough. But being a healthcare Israeli young company that dealing with software and hardware at the same time, I mean medical device company, that's quite crazy. And I think we found while being very flexible and open-minded, we found the path to create revenues soon and to growth fast before having the FDA approvals. So this is our current goal for the next year, to go to market, to start generate some revenues for the company, to growth fast. And then in 2 years to get the FDA approval and start sales in the inhuman oncology field. We are, just to conclude, 12 people based here in Israel, running clinical trials in 5 sites in the world, inhuman and vets in parallel. We are currently raising funds. We have an open round. This is our A round, and next year we will open our B round. So, and Ella wanted to ask some questions, right? So please.
Okay. So we need to stand at a distance. We're respecting the rules. You know, you're so young. You've never had a startup. How do you manage your relationship with Gidi Barak, who's a very experienced entrepreneur? He's been involved in so many companies. How do you maintain the balance, actually?
So I think you can hear me that way? That's fine? Okay, good. So yeah, I think I was quite young without any experience when I launched the company. And I was looking for an experienced person that been there, done that. And I found Gidi, and I think we have a great relationship. He's the chairman of the company and co-founder. We are kind of co-CEOs. We think together. We do all the brainstorming together. The strategic relationship, we do that together, and that's working very well between us. Yeah.
And can you speak about times of crisis? At a point in time that you weren't sure where you're going, actually.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe the most important thing for an entrepreneur is, and this is something that I'm still learning, is to be able to operate and work in an unknown, uncertain environment, right? And to understand how to build your path with the changes. So this is, I think, one of the major changes, the COVID-19 and the crisis. But I feel like healthcare companies and maybe our companies got a spot during that time because people understand today the importance of healthcare companies, of imaging tools, and the healthcare problems in the world. So I think that quite helped us this crisis. Sorry to say that, but yeah.
It's very interesting, but we had two women on stage over the last 10, 15 minutes, and both are doing things that are good for the world good. So one is feeding the world, and you're healing the world. And according to what Gwen told me back in July, this is very, very typical for women. Women oftentimes do things that take care of the world. So.
Yeah, and I can say that I really, I need to wake up in the morning with a mission. I don't know if I would be able to do that for a internet cyber company. I think that being an entrepreneur means to be able to fail on a daily basis, to have a disappointment every day, and wake up in the next morning like it never happened. So, in order to do that, I have to have my mission inside.
The forever running roller coaster. Two questions. First of all, I want to ask you the same question which I asked Polly. How would you like to change the world to make life easier for women entrepreneurs?
So I would look at the women's side. I would expect to see more women investors, more female entrepreneurs. I think they need to come here and jump on this roller coaster in order, to make the change. So I think this is our responsibility at the end.
So it's our responsibility, and you're just invited to come and take hold of this responsibility. The second question that I would like to ask you, if you could elect a trait of a superwoman, what trait would you elect?
So I would say to be able to be present at a few places at the same time. And I'm not a mother yet, so I believe that would be worse and worse.
Thank you so much, Annie. This has been lovely, and good luck with the company, with HT.
Thank you.
What does HT stand for?
It's Shanito Ledano, my father's name.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's also heat, in a way.
It also hit. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for this wonderful presentation, Shanine. Good luck with the company.
Thank you.
And we have been asking these questions from other women and other entrepreneurs, and it's interesting to see that many entrepreneurs actually ask to be able to fly. So that's the number one thing that entrepreneurs would like to, will aspire to. Nora and Sarah Manasseh is an experienced inventor with a demonstrated history of working in the medical device industry. Skilled with regenerative medicine, tissue engineering, cell culture, biomedical engineering, and research and development, R&D. Strong business development professional, graduated from Star Vision. Nora co-founded Norami Medical, and the company has just raised around $7 million. Today, at this very time, Nora is on her first board meeting with her new investors. So let's listen to what we pre-recorded of Nora last Friday.
Hello, everyone. So looking back at my early days, I've been always fascinated by science and inventions. I always dreamed big and believed that I can succeed. Growing up as a minority in Israel didn't make it easy, though. My name is Noura. I'm a technological and social entrepreneur, an inventor, and the co-founder of Norami Medical, a 7-year-old medical device startup company. I proudly grew up in Nazareth, which is the largest Arab community city in Israel. Nazareth in the 90s as most of the other Arab cities in Israel, did lack an encouraging and nurturing environment for entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, the mainstream talk was about the lack of appropriate positions for Arab engineers, as they couldn't be engaged easily in the Israeli high-tech ecosystem, and also about the difficulties in establishing meaningful interactions with the neighbors, with the Jewish community. Arabs were known to be facing a lot of challenges in paving their way to the top. So being aware of these challenges and barriers, and along with the lack of familiarity, the right guidance, and the absence of skills to embrace new horizons have made my dream to become very challenging. Needless to say that being a non-native Hebrew speaker didn't help neither, with almost zero Arab role models in my hometown. So back then, the ground wasn't yet ready to grow Arab entrepreneurs in Nazareth. But luckily, many of us believed that despite the limited opportunity, way can be paved by education, which is a fundamental key for success. And that's why in 2005, and inspired by my uncle, who was the first Arab faculty member in the Technion, I went to study science, hoping that this can give me the strength to overcome barriers of this conservative community. Until 2013, my plan was to accomplish a third degree in science and to become a researcher. This was my typical ambitious dream. During my master's degree, though, I had a positive and life-changing opportunity that introduced me to fascinating world of innovations. When I was first introduced to the field, I felt immediately belong. It's like discovering a new side of me that I didn't really know about, a part full of positive energies and willing to invent, change, and make things happen. I knew I found my destiny. So struggling with cultural barriers and determined to pave my own way forward, I decided to take my knowledge in tissue engineering to the next level by creating new practical products with a valuable impact. And so, a year after, and together with my partner, Dr. Amir Bahar, I have established my company, Nurami Medical, with a mission to boost patient recovery after surgery using nanotechnology methods. I'm happy to share with you that Nurami is now in the clinical trials stage and has been able to raise over $10 million fund that will take the company all the way to receiving the marketing approvals in the US and also in Europe. Beside Nurami, I also established the Arab Women in Sciences and Engineering nonprofit organization, together with a group of extraordinary engineers, all of us volunteering to promote other Arab women to break out their comfort zone, to pursue self-employment and entrepreneurship by providing them with the needed guidance, soft skills, and by introducing them to the role models of our society. So today, and after being almost a decade as an entrepreneur, I feel like I've always been and always gonna be motivated and driven by new ideas and by leading change. I tend to be aware of the surrounding, to fall in love with problems, and decide to find them the perfect solution. Because I believe that only with motivation, persistence, and optimism, you can step forward and you can make the change. So I would like to thank you very much and to wish you a good and fruitful day, and would like to say cheers to all the entrepreneurs around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Nora. How lovely to have you here with us over Zoom. And to our next speaker, and this is Gwen Edwards, an entrepreneur and investor, a principal at GCE, who chairs Angel Resource Institute and manages Golden Seed Chapter at Silicon Valley. Gwen brings over 30 years of experience building products, services, and profitable business units in high technology sectors. From Stanford Research Institute to Fortune 50 executive, SBC, Nortel Networks, Bell Canada, to venture capital backed technology startup CEO and advisor, she unites the knowledge of successful brands, experience with scale, and the skills of managing innovation. Since 2001, Gwen has been working in advisory capacities with angel and venture-backed companies, assisting with capital formation, key milestones, achievement to enhance value, developing target market strategies, cultivating customer input, and assisting in the execution of key deliverables. Gwen, thank you for staying up at close to midnight now. The floor is yours. You need to turn on your mic.
Yes, there.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ayla. It's really so fun to be here, even if it's midnight. Silicon Valley never sleeps, as they say.
Yeah.
But I want to express a number of key points. First of all, we owe so much a debt of gratitude to all entrepreneurs. We wouldn't be here without you and us who have been there, but my life and our lives would be so dramatically different. Imagine if it weren't for entrepreneurs. I mean, you stop and think about what would life be like without Amazon, or without Apple, without smartphones, without Google. And you'd have to say, seriously, what would that be like? Without Facebook, okay, maybe there are lots of challenges around social dilemmas, but even think about Genentech, everything that's happened in biotech, or PayPal and FinTech. Most of these are really already considered old infrastructure companies, yet they're very innovative. And now, how about life without Zoom? Where would we be? How could I be here today participating? It's just quickly a noun. We're Zooming. Let's go Google it. We all know a company has won, as they say, won the category when this happens. And all of this is really enabled because of pioneers. And it takes guts and courage, as we all know. And often it's just one CEO or one founder with a passionate dream. I mean, hearing from Shani earlier, it's just amazing how empowered she was and driven and is by what's beyond her. So you might now say, well, okay, Gwen, great examples, but gee, where are the women? Can't we cite some examples of women who've changed the world? And of course, yes, we can. I mean, how many of you know Cisco had a co-founding team? One was a woman, a husband and wife team. We've all kind of forgotten about that. And yes, she was central to that company, huge corporation today. And how about Epic? Epic is one of two dominant medical records companies in the world. You probably have never heard of Judith Faulkner. Why? Epic today is over $3 billion in value, but it didn't IPO. They're privately held, happily so. So another example and an option for people, for their success. And then we can move a little, forward to more current examples. House, Household World, Evite, and of course, Rent the Runway. But just wait, because you'll be introduced to several more later this morning. And a lot of what's happening is, as Polly mentioned early, access to capital is shifting as the world understands that women are terrific talent to invest in. More women will not only risk inventing as it becomes easier to get access to capital, but they will get the capital they need to build these huge businesses. Yes, 3% of all venture capital is going to women. We're determined to change that. One way we're doing that is by stepping up as angels and to get that early capital going for entrepreneurs. We're really proud of a lot of hard work in the last 15 years in particular, but today almost 30% of all angel investors in the United States are women. We're seeking early stage, capital, and we love having those options. We're getting that we want to see other kinds of products in the world, and we're building these healthy, diverse ecosystems. And we love to say we're voting with our purse. So let me share a few secrets. We also know that when women and men work together, i.e. they're gender diverse teams, those teams outperform male-only teams. So men, listen up here, because this is for you too. We see this on so many levels, from dramatic performance improvements on Fortune 1000 companies, when there's at least 3 or more women on the boards, to improved performance of early stage companies. You might know Josh Koppelman. He's becoming quite well known in Silicon Valley as an investor and heads up a firm called First Round Capital. He's proud to declare that when he analyzed his portfolio over the last 10 years, companies that had a female founder outperformed those with all male founding teams by 63%. He jokes that he is not sure he really wants to share this news, selfishly looking to the best returns for his fund so he can brag, but he really does want the world to know. And if we stop for just a minute and think about that 63% improvement, if we really absorbed that news, I think we would work harder and reward more generously these diverse teams, women-led companies, and women with men. After all, the economic advantages and they play out for everyone's benefit. And here's one more secret that is not necessarily good news. The Angel Resource Institute's latest study of over 2,000 transactions, 2 years in a row, found, shockingly, that men still secure valuations at the seed stage, that earliest stage, that are 73% higher than those of women at the seed stage. When I first came across that data, I thought it can't be true. So we looked again, 2 years worth of data just confirmed that number. In fact, it went from 70 to 73%. It got worse the more data points we looked at. So that's disturbing. But doesn't this also say that investors should pay attention? Jump in to invest early at the seed stage. Jump in to invest with women and help them get to that next stage. Make it a win-win. But it also, at the next stage, that gap is significantly reduced. There's almost no gap at the Series A level. So at the same time, markets we know will adapt, and these differences will shrink, hopefully for women entrepreneurs sooner than later, as more money flows into these companies. And there's more competition to get into these great ventures. Meanwhile, women angels are working to ensure greater equity. So if you're a male founder, it's really time to give serious attention. Oh, sorry, I'm hearing other people. It's okay. It's time to give serious attention because this is an opportunity to consider a female co-founder if you haven't one already, or adding women to your C-suite. Not to be socially conscious per se. How about to be a successful capitalist? Remember that 63% improvement figure from First Round Capital and use it to your advantage. You may be able to win on all fronts, frankly, and still get that higher valuation than women get, and have great talent on your team. We know women are careful and with capital. They know they carefully deploy it, and they care deeply about doing well. Can you see where this message is headed? Just imagine if we could all tap all of the talent at the table and remove the gender constraint. How much more would our GDP increase over the next decade? Well, according to an analysis by Boston Consulting Group, at least $5 trillion is the potential of upside in the next decade. In the MENA region alone, we could see an increase of 300 billion in GDP if women were truly tapped as equally as men, creating more jobs and opportunity. So we must move beyond traditional constraints. I personally feared having both a family and a career. I know I'm a perfectionist, not sure I could do both. I lacked the confidence to support this dream of that scenario. But now we're changing the world I experienced. Today, I would argue, yes, you can do both. We have fantastic brains and talents and abilities to be deeply analytical while also nurturing, logical with compassion, and we can build businesses and even have children. Yes, even at the same time, Shani, impossible, I might have said even 10 years ago. In fact, I know I advised, why not do things serially and not in parallel? But in these last 10 years, I have witnessed amazing role model accomplishments breaking these paradigms. Let me mention a few. A company right here in Tel Aviv that I've had the privilege of working with called Auraplayer was co-founded by a woman, now CEO. She has 3 children. Yes, 3 little ones. Granted, she doesn't sleep enough, and she has a wonderfully supportive husband in academia. But it still appears almost impossible, and yet it's not. It's also interesting that she's succeeding on a global scale and thriving during the pandemic. Another example, a company here in the Bay Area called Cooley. The CEO would have been here this week to speak, except she's on maternity leave. And I happened to pick up an article she's just written in Forbes magazine. What is it about? How having a child has forced her to learn about delegating in ways she never imagined, forced her to be even more fiercely focused on her priorities, and making her a much better leader and executive. So there's a change in 20 years. How about Envision, little Envision, a medical device company who sold for $250 million, was founded by a 27-year-old who didn't think she could have children when she started the company. She ended up as CEO having 2 children between the time she founded the company and its exit at that nice price in a 6-year stretch. How did she do it? Cadenza Innovations is another great example. You'll hear a little bit more about that CEO later this morning. Husband, family, yes, is the load balance fair? No, but it's doable and rewarding, and she's having tremendous success building a global company. So today in 2020, my point is really that we have an absolutely different dynamic now. This is not a queen bee syndrome where one woman is sacrificing all to get to the top of a corporate structure. These are women very much inventing, innovating, and managing change for themselves and their companies. And they are integrating their goals. So I love that we're building a new future, successfully integrating women with men into leadership, innovation, wealth creation, family, and community. The world wins if together we apply all of our different strengths and skills, appreciating the differences and celebrating them as equal but different. Okay, all right. I look forward to seeing more of you later in the morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you so much. And we are now moving to Hebrew from right to left. And our next speaker is ענת גירון. ענת גירון היא מנהלת הקשר עם הלקוחות כאן בבורסה לניירות ערך. בבקשה, ענת.
בוקר טוב. אני שמחה לפתוח הבוקר את המסחר לרגל פתיחת שבוע היזמות הגלובלי, המתקיים זו השנה השישית כאן בבורסה והפך כבר למסורת. שמי ענת גירון ואני מנהלת את יחידת הקשר עם החברות בבורסה. שבוע היזמות 2020, בו שותפים למעלה מ-170 מדינות ברחבי העולם, ישים דגש מיוחד השנה על עידוד נשים להצטרף למעגל היזמות ולשבור את תקרת הזכוכית. אנחנו בבורסה רואים חשיבות רבה בנושא, ואני גאה לציין כי בבורסה עובדים למעלה מ-60% נשים, כולל בתפקידי הניהול הבכירים. הבורסה בתל אביב, כגוף המאמין בהייטק ובחדשנות הישראלית, שמחה לקחת חלק בפתיחת שבוע היזמות. הבורסה היא המקום הטבעי שאמור להוות ציון דרך בהתפתחותן וצמיחתן של חברות ההייטק. וזאת על מנת שהציבור הישראלי יוכל גם הוא ליהנות מפירות ההצלחה של החדשנות והיוזמה הישראלית הייחודית כל כך בעולם, וכן להניע את מנוע הצמיחה של הכלכלה והמשק הישראלי. לאחרונה השיקה הבורסה פלטפורמה חדשה טייסאפ, שמאפשרת בפעם הראשונה לחברות הייטק פרטיות לגייס הון וליהנות מהיתרונות של הבורסה כמו גישה למשקיעים ונזילות, ויחד עם זאת להישאר פרטיות. אנחנו מאמינים כי גיוון מקורות הגיוס, במיוחד בתקופה מאתגרת זאת של משבר הקורונה, לצד הגדלת החשיפה של המשקיעים בארץ לחברות הצמיחה, יתרום לשכלול השוק ולכך שיותר חברות צמיחה ישראליות ימשיכו לפעול כחברות עצמאיות ואף לגדול ולהתפתח בישראל, וייתכן שבהמשך הדרך יהפכו להיות חברות ציבוריות נסחרות בתל אביב. הבורסה משקיעה משאבים ומאמצים רבים גם ביצירת תשתיות טכנולוגיות מתקדמות, אשר תורמות לשכלול השוק ומגבירות את הנגישות הדיגיטלית של משקיעים מכל רחבי העולם לבורסה הישראלית ולחברות הנסחרות בה. אני מאחלת לכם שבוע מעניין, פורה ומוצלח, ושתמשיכו ליזום ולממש את החלומות שלכם. וכעת אני שמחה לפתוח את המסחר.
המסחר מתחיל.
Okay. Well, right now we are going to move back to Gwen, and Gwen will be interviewing Julia Hu, one of the best and most famous and most successful entrepreneurs in the United States. So we'll move to the interview right now. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. It's a special thanks to MIT Enterprise Forum. Global Entrepreneurship Network Conference this year in Tel Aviv. It's really a wonderful opportunity because we're continuing to build strong ties that already exist between Silicon Valley and Tel Aviv and the broader MENA region. So I'm Gwen Edwards, and I'm an active angel investor, primarily through Golden Seeds. We're a nationwide network of 300 investors, and I'm proud to say 80% of them are women. So we are always on the hunt for talented women leading great companies, and we seek them in tech, in femtech, in the life sciences, and other emerging domains. In fact, we used to think this underserved market would be our secret. But of course, we're equally thrilled to see how many women in the US are now angel investors. Almost 30% of over 200,000 angels and growing. We honestly love to see these products and services and the values we share come into the world and play a part in making this happen. And of course, hopefully being economically rewarded along the way. So I'm also a leader at the Angel Resource Institute. It's a nonprofit that focuses on building angel networks and also inspiring women to become investors and help them understand best practices. In turn, we love to work with entrepreneurs so that they understand what makes a company investable, to get into the mindset of the investor and learn how to succeed with raising capital. It's through the Angel Resource Institute that I've actually had some tremendous experiences in the region, working in Israel, Jordan, and other parts of MENA. And with each instance, my own appreciation deepens, and in turn, we find more ways to connect the dots. Entrepreneurship really is the key to solving huge problems we face today, from climate change to enhanced healthcare delivery, to adding intelligence to every step we take. We're moving from the advances in tech to femtech and all things bio. Enabling the human being appears to be the next wave, extending our reach literally and figuratively, and extending our lives. While we continue to apply all we know about the brain and how we process information and build expert systems and enable machines to learn alongside of us. So today, I just want to convey one point, if only one, and that's that the world is always smaller than we think. Did you know that there's a correlation between the most networked entrepreneurs and their success? It's somewhat counterintuitive because we think and we're so aware that we need to keep our heads down. We've just got to focus and execute. And yes, we clearly do. But we think being highly networked actually helps us learn faster, scale faster, tap talent globally, get context faster, understand competition differently, and succeed faster. So imagine when you have a network globally, you're learning differently. The Global Entrepreneurship Summit and this conference is another way to expand our networks and to realize you are never alone. While entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey, it's also one that tests us in ways we could never have imagined prior to starting the journey. Would you have taken that path? Would you still have taken it knowing what you know now? Surely the answer is yes. Can you tell I too was an entrepreneur? It stays with you forever. I do want to say a few words about one company that is on the agenda that unfortunately could not be with us, but is here in spirit today, Cadenza Innovations. Cadenza is also led by a woman, Christina Lampe-Onerud, a speaker at Davos on multiple occasions, a visionary serial CEO, formerly the CEO of Boston Power. And Christina is truly changing the way we store energy and on a global scale. Founded in Connecticut, Christina is now in New York, and now with proven technology that enables lithium-ion batteries to fit more energy per cubic inch at a lower cost, and to store this energy on a global scale. She's doing more with less, with the issue of safety removed and resolved. There is no threat of fire. So they have set a new standard for the world. And Cadenza is now looking to expand their footprint with entrepreneurial partnerships with established institutions and also nimble clean energy providers around the world. So as we ring this bell in Tel Aviv, keep your eyes open for more news about Cadenza. They're changing the game and enabling faster adoption of clean energy. And think about the holy grail in clean energy is storage. So we think they've cracked the code, and we couldn't be more excited than to see a woman leading this company. Thank you to Christina for all her hard work 24/7, and you'll see how you can reach her. So now, moving to the heart of Silicon Valley, where we are today, I'm so happy to have another spectacular entrepreneur with me now here in Silicon Valley, and this is Julia Hu. Julia is the CEO of Lark, an AI healthcare company that is changing the cost and quality of healthcare right now in the United States. We have a very complex healthcare system that takes a rocket scientist to navigate, much less problem solve within it and for it. And Julia is really just the person to do this, and whom when you meet, you'll least suspect she's changing the game for a large number of individuals and health plans. Julia also has two other connections to the MENA region. One is via the MIT Enterprise Forum, because Julia was an MIT Sloan School graduate student after completing her undergraduate degree at Stanford and studying at the D School. And while at Sloan, Julia wanted to tackle her own issues and her chronic condition. And this was the beginning of a long journey into health tech and AI. I'm really proud to say I discovered Julia at a meetup in Silicon Valley almost 10 years ago. Yes, some of these journeys are obviously long, but we persevere. And I heard of her and she of me, and that warm introduction helped start the conversation. Long story short, Golden Seeds then got her into her first round of capital. And then fast forward 10 years, about 2 months ago, we added more capital into her Series C round, a $70 million financing that will enable her to really soar. So it's so timely and fitting that right now we have Julia with us today as we ring the bell in Tel Aviv, because we know this is foreboding of more bell ringings to come. Julia also has also made sure that borders do not define her search for best talent. She has top developers on her team right now in Tel Aviv. I could go on and on about Julia in these last many years, and let me leave you with one thing. Julia equals perseverance. There were so many points in the journey when Julia could have easily said, you know, I'm really tired, guys. I need to stop. But she didn't. She never gave up. Even when others around her couldn't see that light at the end of the tunnel or feared it was a train, she persevered. So with no further ado, please let meet Julia Hu, CEO and founder of Lark. She is the market leader in AI-driven chronic disease management. And I want to make sure you all know she was named 10 most innovative companies in the world alongside Uber and Airbnb. And she's helping payers offer unlimited one-on-one chronic disease prevention and management very, very cost effectively. Prior to Lark, Julia also founded 2 clean tech companies. There's a theme here. She also advised President Obama on innovation and is on the faculty at Singularity University on several boards, including the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, and winner of 30 Under 30. So Julia, I'm eager to pass the baton to you. Before you give us the long history of how you got to this point in time, let me first make sure the camera can zero in on you and tell us in your words, just what are you doing today and why you have such a compelling value proposition. Julia.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Gwen. This is so exciting. Thank you to the Global Entrepreneurship Network and MIT for inviting us. These are my favorite things to take part of. It's great to feel connected in this global event. In many ways, COVID has made our world smaller. And so today, from California, we're ringing the virtual bell. And really happy to share some of our stories. So at Lark, our mission is really to help anyone struggling with a chronic condition, folks struggling with a pre-chronic condition or behavioral health, mental health issues, to get compassionate personal care anytime, anywhere, and at no cost to them. And the reason why we think this is so important is because chronic conditions really take up 86% of all healthcare costs. The healthcare system just wasn't meant for chronic conditions. It was meant for acute and infectious diseases, which is why I know that we will get through COVID. But the epidemic of chronic conditions really needs to be solved with scalability, with technology. And so we're applying conversational AI to really scale care, provide personal AI nurses for millions and millions of folks. We have 2 million patients today, but we hope to treat hundreds of millions of patients globally in the future.
Yeah, that's great. I just love thinking about the price point that you're going to be able to enable so many people to have really good care. And it's an issue around the world, and it's especially critical right here. I'd love for you to say a little bit more about COVID, because every entrepreneur, I think, has been impacted one way or the other. And for many, it's been a real challenge, but also we know in every challenge there's opportunity, and you always prove that, Julia. Given all the issues and obviously sorrow that COVID has brought to all of us, can you just say a little bit more about how it impacted Lark and kind of the thinking and reshaping and revectoring of your company?
Yeah, obviously, COVID has been an incredible tragedy in the world, and it's hard to quantify all of the suffering and loss. I think the silver lining is that COVID has really changed healthcare forevermore. And I think in a positive way, in the sense that, during times of necessity, healthcare has been forced to look at and embrace technologies, innovations, how to do things virtually, how to do things cost effectively, scalably. And so I would say that in our lifetime, COVID is probably the one most impactful moment that will progress healthcare and help healthcare embrace technology. So we're seeing all of these trends, and I'm sure the world of telehealth, virtual health is exploding. You're seeing companies like Teladoc and Livongo achieving huge market caps because of scaling. One of these companies has quite a bit of strong roots in Israel. So the telehealth company Amwell, I'm sure the Israeli community is so proud of their founders who are Israeli and have deep roots in Israel. Amwell, these are all examples of extraordinary telehealth companies and virtual health companies really succeeding in the marketplace. And at Lark, we see ourselves as AI-driven telemedicine. And it's very exciting because even though today we have already 2 million patients on our platform, because of COVID and these health plans and their critical need for virtual care, we've been asked to manage tens and tens of millions of members and managing their prediabetes, diabetes patients, hypertension patients, behavioral health patients, chronic conditions such as smoking cessation, cardiometabolic, so really multiple diseases, and managing tens of millions of those. We've been able to develop a 24/7 care nurse. So instead of calling a nurse, there's just not enough nurses in the world. So you can text with an AI nurse. And so this acceleration of our business in working with health plans to manage tens of millions of patients is really attributed to COVID. But I really think that even after collectively we beat COVID, the need for virtual care is not going to go away.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It really seems as though, sometimes it does take a major crisis to break the paradigm, to cause people to, we've really forced people to change their habits, and clinicians had to change their habits. And that cracked open the door, and the technology has been there for a long time, ready to crack it open. I was involved in telemedicine projects in the 90s, mid-90s, if you can imagine. And of course, things are way better now, but there was resistance, human resistance. And now I think the door is open because we don't have an alternative. And people love the convenience. So hopefully this will just keep going and going. And the same thing as, in education. And so there's wonderful innovation coming out of this. So it's so exciting, Julia. I'd love to know more about, let's go back to you as an entrepreneur, because so many people are looking at you and listening and waiting for some nuggets. But can you tell us a little bit about, how did you decide to become an entrepreneur? If you could take us back to your days at MIT Sloan. I'm sure you were thrilled to be accepted, and then you're a dropout. We didn't tell the MIT Enterprise Forum that. But what drove you to drop out and put everything you had into building this company?
Yeah, Gwen, entrepreneurship, it just sort of came to me in college. It was actually before MIT even, at Stanford, I think. When you're at Stanford, there's so much idealism. Stanford was all about entrepreneurship and the sharing of ideas and the responsibility of changing the world. And I just started interning for every GSB student I could. And I just loved it. I started my first company in clean tech, totally failed. I was too scared to fail and so I failed. And so it was really a paper company, but learned a ton. Was part of a founding team of a second clean tech company, learned to scale. But really, at MIT, I really wanted to do something that was tackling a personal problem of mine. And, for me, I've had a chronic condition all my life. My dad had to quit his day job to take care of me. And he looked every for a specialist, 30 specialists onward, no one could diagnose me. And he found a pediatrician for me. And this pediatrician worked with me and my dad every week for about 12 years, changing everything about my diet, how I manage pain, stress, exercise, medication. And it was through that kind of holistic 24/7 care that I got rid of 90% of my attacks. And so for me, it was really important to do something that mattered to me. And it was so profoundly difficult an experience for the entire, not the entire world, but more than 1 billion people are struggling with a chronic condition or at high risk of a chronic condition. And so I felt like I had the experience to try and create a much more scalable version of this 24/7 care team that I had experienced.
That's really beautiful. I mean, the other thing that strikes me about that comment of yours is that we all know that being an entrepreneur itself is stressful. It's 7/24. You don't go on vacation. You might physically, but you never mentally do. And that's year after year after year. And so I think it's hopefully an inspiration to other entrepreneurs to just realize you have a chronic condition and you manage it. And you can't take your health for granted. So imagine bundling that into everything else you need to do. But I think it also says somehow we have to have that balance to continue to be strong.
I completely agree. When we started Lark, you have this roller coaster of emotions because everything is make or break. And I forgot to take care of myself, and I was at times working 120-hour weeks. And I got burnt out after a while. My body started giving out. I started getting much more chronic flare-ups, and it was just a reminder that you have to take care of yourself physically, mentally, to keep on going. Right? It's not a sprint. You
right?
Yeah.
You might think it is one time, but nope. So that's a really good kind of segue to a question I've been wanting to ask. And that's, was there ever a point when you thought, I'm not sure I can keep going? It's so hard. And not to dwell on the negatives, but maybe just help us see what caused you to realize that you must go on, you should go on, you could go on. Was there some moment in time that you can recall?
Yeah, entrepreneurship is hard. You are constantly faced with no's. And there have been many, many hard times. I feel like particularly because we had this crazy idea that we were going to build an AI nurse to replace a live nurse. And it took us 6 years of very difficult tech R&D, heads down. Before we created our first AI nurse, we trained it on about 1 million patients, and it received a clinical equivalence to live nurses, and we became a healthcare provider. So our AI nurse can practice as a regular nurse can in certain diseases. That 6-year period, though, before that, was just this endless leap of faith. And sometimes it gets really hard, right? We had to, we were often running out of money. We, got some really interesting partners who wanted us to help develop solutions for them. And so they were offering revenue, but it was never quite the right match to our singular goal of creating this AI nurse. And I remember just, times where you start questioning whether you're just extremely stubborn and stupid for not listening to everyone saying, no, 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 this is not going to happen. For fundraising, as a young Asian woman, it was extremely hard, and I credit Golden Seeds for really supporting women entrepreneurs. I would say there were times when even if I felt like I could handle the stress, it was a trend. 3 years in a row before our launch, a few days before our launch, I remembered we launched at TechCrunch, we launched at another place. I would always end up in the ER because of a horrible chronic condition flare-up because of, my body giving out. And those were times when it was just like, am I not listening to the signs?
Wow.
So anyways, I digress, but it really, I think that at those moments you have to look within yourself and see why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, I realized if I could bring compassionate care to folks that never had my father's love and my pediatrician's care, I felt re-energized by that. And so I took a little break for myself, and then I kind of charged back.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So you're taking your dad and your pediatrician and you're mixing them together.
Yeah.
And out of the genie, you've got this amazing system that's loving and kind and smart.
Well, luckily, it's it's adding a lot of brilliant people, right? Brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some of the best healthcare minds and behavioral health minds in the country, from MIT, from Stanford. So
points to the power of having a fabulous advisory board, which you've built from the beginning. So another kudos, Julia. That's great. So I know we're about running out of time. Maybe just say, what is your hope for Lark now? I think you've kind of given us a sense of that. Maybe just end with, what would you want every entrepreneur to know watching you today as they start this Global Entrepreneurship Week? That it's not easy. You've got all these messages, but is there one thing you'd like to close with?
I talked a lot about it's not easy. I also think it is one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And it is so rich with purpose. I love my team. We've gotten to bring on more than 100 amazing people. And I think it is a really special thing. I would say that you just have to remember that it's hard work. So do something that's meaningful. Solve a societal problem. Focus on the seemingly impossible societal problem that is worthy of your time, your effort. And I think that, it's okay if you fail. We all mess up and we all learn from our mistakes. It's just really important to try to dedicate a part of your life to moving forward and bringing good to society. So
that's great, Julia. I mean, really, you're saying be really aware of the why. Why am I doing this? And if the why is lots bigger than yourself, you can always come back to that and then draw on that energy and that drive and moral support from others, if nothing else, when things get tough. But
yep.
You've got a bigger purpose. That's yeah. Okay, that's beautiful, Julia. Thank you so much. I wish we could both be in Tel Aviv with everybody. This would be so much fun. But this is our substitute. So thank you all for listening. You can reach Julia at lark.com. Couldn't be easier than that. And I'm easy to find as well. I'm Gwen at GwenEdwards, just my name.com. And we wish we had time for more interaction, but I think we need to let you all move on. Thank you to the U.S. Embassy also for your support in this endeavor, and honestly for creating ways for us to continue to participate on this global stage. It's all about building relationships and supporting each other. So thank you so much, and have a great day and a great week. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Gwen. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I do hope to see you both here next year. A big thank you for the Gen team. Thank you, Noam Senderov. Thank you, Michal Levi Medina. Thank you, Inbar Bilu. Thank you, everybody who helped make this event so wonderful. And stay with us. We have 3 more events in English taking place at 8 o'clock Israel time, 8 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday week. And a lot of wonderful events. Stay with us. Thank you all, and happy Global Entrepreneurship Week to you. Take good care. Bye.